Harker's down, is that right?
Yeah.
It's the same as last round, right?
What is the same as last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So good to go?
And Liam.
Liam can teach about it. Oh, and I'm trying to record this on my phone. Yeah, you good. Be sick. Oh, okay. Right.
Claim the United States ought to substantially reduce its military presence in the Republic of Turkey. Advantage one is Russia. Turkish tactical news has Russian to South 31st strikes, nuclear reassurance, training exercises, and fighter jet deployment during crises, introduce rapid escalations. 16 during wartime potential peace, it is unlikely to use fighter wing and SoKo undetected. The traffic is closely monitored to peace nuclear weapons to be conflict, destabilizing intelligence, flying a nuclear fighter during a crisis, concealed to Moscow to use nuclear weapons mounting. First strike, the US may be trying to reassure NATO ally free civil the Turkish Air Force. Russia has increased missile strike ability to use the sea launch missile for the Black Sea Mediterranean, both regions open minutes. American decision to deploy dual capable aircraft could be interpreted as a precursor to a first strike. Specifically, pick up and drop postures or words for deterrence and trigger Russian preemption. 16 B61 base building up for pick up and drop approach to nuclear posture traffic about the first strike. Then the unmanned determination both supposed to support. The risk is high now. Ukraine and decaying Russian early warning infrastructure makes accidental escalation likely. Shibler 22 Putin outside nuclear-led Russian system days vulnerable to errors. The risk of catastrophic state becomes more likely in period of fighting. Potential leaders of made decision that because weekends for conflict one nation visitor percent events as the training exercise only the US surveillance of the globe to double check and launches the Russians out the like outcome monitoring. A turbulent dangerous sector for Russians that's handing up by their inability to look down. Russia war causes extinction can't bear. 17 nuclear war between the US and Russia after could be much worse without weapons made impossible to go through the federal station will be greater. Station is only possible between the US and Russia, but 90% of the world's weapons regionally war likely to lead to station possibly greater from probably between the US and Russia. The plan stalls removal ships weapons out of Turkey and into Europe that preserve deterrence and compensates Turkey with conventional weapons, but prevents nuclear wars. 16 to make nuclear bounds more stable weapons should be relocated. The Turkey will retain its soldiers switching to alliance solidarity NATO. There's more conventional presence, perhaps forward based missile defense weapons can remain in Europe and Asia. Nuclear posture not to great capabilities consolidation in Europe would result in greater stability replacing the off posture that could during extreme potentially lead to worst case assumptions. Independently, Russia spies on F-35s out in Prolif that causes cyber attacks. Refer 19 Turkey has warned along the F-35 the checkmate their company could be compensated. System would integrate into the S-100 of subtactical data to be compromised even though the way formal the S-100 access the info broadcast data back to Russia with the highest bidder. Cyber attacks on F-35s go nuclear. Lin 21 dependencies lead to subfield to nuclear turns or to nuclear war after F-35 capable of nuclear munitions depend on computers and software could be central key aspects of something related to sophisticated computer logistics system estimating vulnerabilities nuclear system key delivery and Ukraine even not able to release on authorized change of program, make itself aircraft more visible, recent for regional defense mission, critical vulnerabilities, take control systems, not very undetected vulnerabilities, represented only a fraction. Advantage two is security. Turkey would steal nukes and give them to Hamas, even if they don't, they'd be reluctant to fully defend nukes from pro-Hamas protesters. Hit 1122, Erdogan called Israel terrorist and described Hamas as resistant fighters pro-Hamas party addressed the U.S. state women's in Turkey and the need to spend at least 6 months in 2 weeks ago. President Rally tried to storm and sell the ABC could be sent to Islam party. Turkey has been unreliable native ally during the coup. Erdogan compared to install prohibitive plans for taking off their new to be strong liability and stable allies to Turkey doesn't fit this, any imagination to know nukes in Turkey is a bad idea. Defense is overly optimistic. Erdogan will mobilize mobs, steal nukes and overrun bases, removing insular balances relations, and ensures nuclear security ribbon in 20. Erdogan and sent anti-Americans regularly against assaulted civilians. The coup and event Erdogan inside a siege to justify the British called out Eagle Strike City. They said of one side of Versace, Swedish combat erupted between Turkey and Greece. Turkey. Sovereign nationals said Erdogan wanted to distract him. Arabs Americans said Israel can seize personnel. American security will hesitate to fire for fear of worsening the standard personnel. Can be hostage. The US cannot afford to wait a gradual withdrawal with data troops declining. The declined numbers had the remainers vulnerable depending on should a fate completely overnight evacuation to restore strong ties. Should welcome an 10% set of civil posture and equal Washington to navigate better during difficult time. Incisive anti-Americanism. Terror causes nuclear war and extinction for us. 19 new terrorist weapons in nuclear war. Terrorists and state responsible for the government's rights. Terrorist regions blaze confident escalate to nuclear the US back. And she actually made a nuclear conflict couldn't see that involved every nuclear because they would assume the entire species. The human has lost most of the calamity atmosphere, fracking on ecosystem, reduce ozone, nuclear effect, running the top line. A hotspot. Turkish revisionism is an existential threat to political order. Carefully managing inter-alliance dynamics between Erdogan and NATO prevents war from expansionist spheres of influence to Ziar's 12-7. Two key takeaways: Erdogan tends to persist towards authoritarianism, surge nationalism occur. The next phase is underway. Internal dynamics combined with inflation, pain, and challenge road ahead. It is to make a fluid distinction between tactical adjustments and strategic goals. Erdogan's vision plus challenge to Western norms and democracy and peace and vision of process of civilizational context in century Turkey and comes to Turkey's challenge to local order, evidenced by Russia and the Brexit. Fundamental trajectory remains consistent. NATO, the EU continues to keep collaboration to provide desire to maintain control and discourage duration towards this balance as the safer tension crisis and instability. The world is undergoing a transition into a post-American order. This positive nature remains unclear. The plan tracks Turkey's revisionism. Erdogan using military presence as a bargaining chip, emboldening Russia to cause it 23-year run to everyone else can only be pushed so far. Stop returning from to illustrate the stand up to Westlake with Erdogan's base the challenge messaging Russia. Use brief that Western results come. We should remind Turkey that no member state is indispensable until Greece is less important that Greece and Romania appear on the flashpoint Turkey should threaten to suspend U.S. operations, pursue cooperation without until looming. This president for closure could wait for cooperation. Philippines, Iceland, Prime Minister use Turkey with live Russia bases at Interloop. Unambiguous U.S. pressure is necessary. Turkey's revisionist and weaponizes U.S. inaction and inducements to expand into West Asia. Theis in 20. Equivocal approach to convince Erdogan why he's not going to adopt harsh measures. The U.S. is not confident stance with Turkey sensitive administration to that is not going to tolerate behavior in the Mediterranean while Washington encourages Turkey to implement revision plans in the Mediterranean. U.S. President encourages Moscow Turkey's revision is encouraging horrible continue policy with no consequences if Turkey is not demolished. Other Western elements will follow. If stronger participation in the treaty as long as there's delay stronger, but the possibility for crisis grow. Turkey always said a revisionist and hesitancy does not help for Turkish culture behavior. Clearly consider weakness revision will get very now it's time for America to adopt decisiveness. That draws in France, Israel, and Egypt. That escalates to SoKos in 20. As Turkey swells the Middle East and Africa, Erdogan targets the GND Mediterranean, the Black Sea Turkeys, and also the allies that Erdogan is using relation with NATO, so domestic sanctions moved to the boxes that accommodation linked to the blockade of Istanbul, despised NATO, images for accommodation between Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, Israel no longer unthinkable. Israel draw and goes nuclear, Farley 20, the origins of Theis nuclear problem and the fear of the states will involve a military invasion. Questions will consider using weapons of the balance of it out of its favorite scenarios involving hostile between Israel, Montreal, and Turkey proposed to match up in negative direction. New corpus and main part of the toolkit. Embedded ideological divergence on security issues and Turkish blackmail make the alliance unworkable. Element 1.5 under Erdogan, this relationship is driven off a cliff and no longer now. Hypocritical callous on security closed up to China, Russia, a decision purchase the S-400 battle and enabled Russian forces Turkey launch airstrikes and partners close to bombing U.S. forces. Nationalists for American citizens and hostages are free to join sanctions of Russia. Key destination for release of flow support. Russia's war everyone turns back the Western Europe support for Hamas provided office based county passports used is based there to target bigger funds. It independently causes escalating great power conflicts in Syria and Greece. Says Yaros in 20 Turkey and Greece don't see eye to eye. Kyrgyzstan are symptoms of deep conflict in the Mediterranean. Grants for bigger powerful cars that revisionist agenda buttressed by nationalism, including executives in Europe. The Middle East and Asia discourse pepper with neo-Ottomanism. Turkey sees imposed by fate completely everyone's agenda encompasses more than survival now revisions and partisan interventions in Syria, Libya, then border car pocket. It's a video to have framing the standards mathematical expendable being extinction waste burn 17 is good for people to exist in a popular deaths of people die assuming the loss of the owner no form of intelligent life human capacity for rationality novel in itself.
Good for cross.
Yeah, marked it in itself.
Okay. Your lightest 20 evidence indicates that the U.S. needs to be unambiguous when it comes to West Asia. How does the AF do that?
Unambiguous when it comes to Turkey.
It talks about how the U.S. has not clarified its behavior in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Quote, the U.S. has not clarified its own stance towards Turkish ambiguous
Yeah,
approach.
and then it also talks about what it means by that ambiguous approach. It talks about the Eastern Mediterranean.
Yeah,
how does
Turkey-
the AF clarify that ambiguous approach?
That is our argument. Turkey is weaponizing American support to justify expansionism into the Eastern Mediterranean.
What card indicates that American support is doing that?
The Litas card and the Kozna card. The Kozna card directly cites Insurlik and says that Turkey uses that as leverage by saying NATO is behind me to support expansion. The U.S. needs to send a clear signal that Turkey is not an indispensable
Can
member
you
of
read me a
NATO.
line that says this? It seems like this card is about Sweden and the NATO
Kozna
Sweden
card?
NATO membership.
The Kozna card?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Quote,
I mean,
we
if
should
you,
remind.
like,
We
read
should.
the card.
I'm about to. Quote,
Yeah.
we should remind Turkey that no member of the alliance is indispensable. That's the argument I just made above. It also says that.
Wait, sorry. Just to like remind you of my question. It's not about why like the AF is key for like this specifically. It's a question of why Turkey is weaponizing U.S. support for West Asia. Can you read me a line that says that?
Yeah, sure. The last part of the card says that quote. There's a perennial flashpoint Turkish spending to suspend U.S. operations, pursue cooperation without Insurlik looming over the negotiations.
Wait, what does that mean?
It's saying that
Turkish
it's
suspend
using
U.S.
Insurlik.
operations. What does that have to do with anything in the Eastern Mediterranean?
The line at the end. The line at the end was about using Insurlik to do that. Our argument
It's a
that-
perennial flashpoint. I'm just confused why the word perennial flashpoint is equal
It's
to
a
like
sentence.
Mediterranean
It is,
expansion.
it's a sentence, and the last part of the sentence says, quote, without the question of Insurlik status looming over. Insurlik is American military presence that Turkey has.
Yeah, again, that does not answer my question. It seems to be saying it's a flashpoint. Why does that lead to the Eastern Mediterranean?
Because
like,
we've read 3 other
militarization?
cards as to why Turkish expansionism causes conflict in the Middle East. Like, I'm confused.
Okay. What does it mean that Insurlik is a perennial flashpoint? How does that? What does that mean?
Insurlik is not the perennial flashpoint. Insurlik is used to justify
Well,
conflict.
the quote is
Our evidence. We've read like 3 cards about how Turkey uses American support and weaponizes NATO support to justify expansionism. Turkey is a
Can I
national
have that
revisionist
line
power.
that says like NATO support is weaponized? Because like this line obviously doesn't say that.
quote, it is necessary to make a clear distinction between tactical adjustments and strategic goals. Erdogan's visions implies a challenge to Western North democracy and peace. That was in the Tsiaris card.
Could you read me the line? The which card?
I just did. The Tsiaris card.
Okay. Where is it in the card?
Like the middle.
Erdogan is using the traditional relations secular.
I just like read the line. Do you want me to
How
read
does
it?
the AF, how does the AF,
The AF sends the
remove
signal.
all relations with
I-
the West?
That's not the point. We're not saying that the U.S.-Turkey alliance is bad. It's that Turkey weaponizes the symbol of unambiguous U.S. support to justify expansionism. Turkey is like, the U.S. is backing us to justify expansionism because they have a nationalist agenda. If the U.S. was like, you are not an indispensable ally, we can remove our bases, that would signal to Turkey that they can't do that.
Okay. This is rough case.
Is it 4?
Yeah. But can I understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Did everyone get it? Yeah. Okay, cool. First off, is the interpretation the affirmed must defend a central reduction in military presence, meaning at least 25% US co-10 major defense programs likely reduced, subject to reduce, meaning 25% or more violation. There are 885 troops in Turkey, screenshot of the documents, and 5% constant. 23, the one limits, they open the floodgates of tiny uncontestable apps and remove one troop from a nuke, where basically balanced rapid condensation. 2, grand generics, don't link to tiny apps because every base and region is different, broader apps generate perception and regional conflict impacts that are core of the topic. Next off. Counterplan, the United States especially reduces military presence in the Republic of Turkey, except for the insular base. It solves the issue once it's clear and crosses that it's a question of perception of unambiguous support, which the counterplan maintains. Turkey's preliminary approves its membership of weak Western relations could reverse the decision for 1226. Turkish parliament gave us that Sweden has been to NATO close to Western military alliance. Sweden's protocol and that to be approved in relation to parts of Turkey data has been set Turkey's related ratification board of the Eurocast ruling party and Turkish Kita extended its alliance commitment promoting Turkish individual development and use August 23. Turkey's embracing NATO security guarantees and endurance as a cornerstone of security. Entire Turkey is protected by NATO's umbrella insular extended deterrence, maintaining credibility, reassuring allies, emerging Prolif. U.S. nuke and Turkey symbol of Turkish defense partnerships, Turkey's national security party still require robust system of deterrence maintained by presence in Sweden is unique key for joint deterrence for protecting their assets. Squarmy 23 Sweden focus on great power robbery combination being in NATO. Sweden initiatives to develop joint deterrence for Operation Minority and did not for unenabled deterrence by denial posture. Sweden's Arctic already usage of financial prime target and altered deterrence failure goes nuclear extinction clear in the Arctic. Research for reasons induce major powers to increase military competition as nuclear implications reduce versus eroding security over numbers increasing resources in conflicts as intensify for increasing global disorder escalation arms and waste simulations. Next off is Sweden just said the underlying next off is Prolif. The underlying environment is primed for proliferation. Only assurance holds that at Bay. Herzog 23 young set up alarm seal might develop their nukes. A popular keeping nukes out of Korea will be a U.S. responsibility. Korean testing Chinese arsenal in Ukraine. Korean security is a major factor. Nuclear launch ballistics increase missile seal as a fuel alternatives. But these for now seal will build instead of focusing on things like how return and dangerous long term. Rating is for failures for Washington and Sweden. Korea from proliferating in 75 leveraging assurance investors to be a nuclear program there. A latent nuclear state. Williams link 23 SoKo's nuclear latency possession of the tech. Those studies materials of expertise and capabilities to develop nukes is one of the top global top producers of nuclear energy is considerably fueled in cycle infrastructure and TW withdrawal fees South Korean anxieties by use of abandonment. The struggle for 20 B-61 counter nuclear proliferate by dissuading partners from reaching their own programs to left nukes and insulate, but private alliances under the American umbrella to question the viability of their own range of Washington would feed closer nuclear self-autonomy. The SoKo physical grow without worries with the future of American presence in East Asian proliferation triggers any version into deliberate nuclear war independently. The acquisition of low tips of a nuclear dominant escalates the Middle East in 23. Until it seems here needs to be the joint international hostility leaders of objectives self-sure testing and access to the escalation areas perceive they are under attack based on deficiencies and indicators of mistaken how power could deploy force used against allies. The combination of nuclear and cyber create escalation into nuclear rises to these subdeletion to non-proliferate others asserted to follow the middle to be a high probability of WMD use until it's on many systems belong to war and faulty assessments. The threat of nukes in Asia versus 2001 is still a bit striking there as a preventative war. The second is an avert escalation of a conventional war and accidental use due to malfunction. Modern is required to prevent coercion war against allies which all could risk increased risk of war. Next off. Counterpoint, the United States should resume construction of its work for the East Med pipeline to the European natural gas network, including for Greece, Turkey, France, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, the terminal to advantage used by Eastern Mediterranean world conflicts and energy combination. We agreed 1 is 2020. Energy versus the energy Eastern Mediterranean combination extending for influence the Eastern Mediterranean. Greece, Turkish, French, Turkey, Greece, France, UAE, Egypt, Brazil solves the advantage 2. We can reduce conflicts into Russia and the Eastern Mediterranean study and go to 22. Advantage to present Russian energy blackmail revoting support for the Eastern Mediterranean provide gas to Europe, Germany, Turkey to benefit undermine Russia in the energy market and militarily natural gas strengthen Russian relations, reduce Russia's partnerships case. Steinberg in 2016 doesn't account for F3, F5, A capabilities, so stealthy ranking status can detect them. F35, ZD61 is the matter for deterrence to deter Russia because of quick and developed strikes. 23. Nuclear weapons changing the F-35 replaced with Confederates and United States more capable of nuclear for the B-61 while bombing will destroy Russian aggression. F-35 will leave thus with the predictability of nuclear sharing. The United States deploys weapons to give this of the commitment is credible for deployed nuclear weapons. Both turns to the front lines with the Russian that is east. Every nation in the West, all capabilities, alternate warfare, and advances, penetrated Russian airspace, every dual radars together, intel and interface B-62 for the for operational credibility. The terminal fails. Aids about missile flares, not on B-61s. B concedes that Russian cells literally cannot look down. Tracking missile trajectories is impossible, much as F-35. C concedes missile is inevitable. Training exercise weather phenomena and malfunctions. Insert blue. And the one you see evidence is not about Turkey, but F-35s in general, which also exists in the AF. And missile is inevitable. Russian misperception intervention goes nuclear. Frederick Clinton C. Risk of escalation. Russian maneuvers. Skill U.S. military president all work pressure to respond by targeting Russian aircraft. Russia may view U.S. responses as military forbidden to retaliate strikes, increase in force of Russia's border discussions with Ukraine. Could decide to strike NATO targets. NATO could be outraged. It's British Moscow through military action. Russian nuclear escalation. If they perceive it threats towards NATO seats for Russian using government sustainable rest of escalation increases. That's a sign to say they don't have dual capable aircraft and the pilots are decertified. Insert ingredient F-35s will never be used. That's 300s. U.S. will operate made in 19. The U.S. is removed Turkey's from the 35 program. Militia will lose. Turkey will lose a jet following us for 100. Men went on rejoin the program. We should reverse the decision. Continue involvement with F-35. Impossible advantage shoot. The HIP evidence Erdogan supported the IHH as a pro-Palestinian humanitarian aid group. The coup attempt was because of internal politics 2016. The reason he shut down Israel is unknown. They have zero reason Erdogan just hands Hamas B-61s and the rally call for Israel to be closed. Not give nuclear bombs and and 23 Palestinian rally. IHH Islamic Turkish agency Trump's insects for Israel attacks IHH to want to for insects to be closed. Advantage of the second part of it. First, Sweden B-16 thumbs. The AF alienates Turkey from Western security guarantees, which is a problem and it's the card on the Sweden is that second, there is zero warrants for stability collapse in the NATO because of Turkey. Every past example of them working with Russia should thumb their scenario because in the lack of a specific internal link means the threshold is uniquely low for NATO collapse. Third, uniqueness overwhelms the link, or the threshold for the link is non-existent. 1AC evidence is fantastic about Turkey is extremely revisionist and cites causes as to how it is engaging in West Asia. Obviously, not all of those are tied to Western alliances, and the plan would still keep most of them. Just because the plan is somewhat unambiguous does not mean that it's a complete erasure of Western support. The fact that Turkey is part of NATO and the fact that Turkey is cooperating with NATO in the status quo means the plan is only seen as them taking minimal action, and that's inserting re-highlighting of the cause in 23 evidence, which is about Sweden in the first place. No link. 1AC list of an unambiguous complete pressure about Turkish expansion in the Mediterranean, which the F isn't. It's local to Turkey. It's also not on a scale large enough. Just 1AR will say that the U.S. militarization is justifying it. No line says this is true. It asserts the U.S. Western policy is helping them, but it does not say that the military support that Turkey receives of the plan reduces. It's the same support that Turkey is using to go into the Middle East. The reasons they are going inside of the Mediterranean are because of economic, nationalistic, etc., which their own evidence admits. It is not simply because the U.S. gives them weapons. So link evidence also concedes that base closures only lead to cooperation when there's more base access, which the AF obviously would stop or circumvention would happen. What if he caused it? In green, Turkey is not revisionist. It values a balancing role with Russia, but will never abandon close Western ties. It would be an economic suicide civic toward the bloc dominating Western geopolitical under Turkey. So what the normalization into what East centers with the U.S. looking for opportunities very favorable with the Washington offer to take protection of Kabul airport. Interdependent Turkey and Russia place Turkey in a special position. Turkey has been full military support to Ukraine. Erdogan clearly enjoyed his balancing role. Security of the Green Deal was typically important achievement. He visited the Kremlin's nerve by allowing hostile fighters to return to Ukraine. The pivot to the West not mean that he will cool his relations with Russia. The genuine desire to improve relations with the EU. Dwarf money's only carried Turkey so far necessary to attract the financial power of the West. Desire to create better conditions of the EU is emblematic of the reintegration to work toward the West. I guess go to T. I can see make some arguments. Another standard, third, is precision. Their model arbitrarily siphons words in the resolution, which kills predictability. It's the only terminal impact to engaging in debate because it determines the positions we can read in the first place. Voters, 1, drop the debater. It's key for deterrence and affects all of 1NC strategy. 2, competing interpretations. Reasonability is arbitrary, and there is no broadline that is universally accepted. Also collapses the competing interpretations. We define 2 broadlines in offense under an offensivist paradigm.
Cross.
Yes.
Status of the counter plan.
Conditional.
The topicality shell, this quantitative definition is solely about troops. You've not said military presence is only troops. Nuclear forces are presumably troops, so how do you have a quantitative
I think those
definition?
are hard to quantify, and our method of quantification
That's arbitrary.
troops.
Wait, so your argument
Like
of
that
quantification is
could be
only
argument.
based on troops. So you just arbitrarily exclude every other part of military presence.
We think that when we determine whether or not the have a substantial reduction, we should only look at things we can quantifiably measure.
That's like so
Things
silly
like-
though, because if nukes are obviously military presence, they're obviously a substantial aspect of that. Your interpretation just randomly excludes that because it's hard to quantify.
Is that a question?
Yeah, why am I wrong?
Why are
Why am
you
I-
wrong? Like, I can explain that into an R. I mean,
Okay, so
I don't know what
sure.
the question is.
The Sweden DA, you've read a lot of cards about Turkey supporting Sweden. Which card says that the only reason they support Sweden is because of the U.S.-Turkey alliance?
It's not about the U.S.-Turkey reliance. The reason they support Sweden is because they trust NATO. The reason they approved the bid is because NATO offered to put the Attorney General on counterterrorism, which means that it's reliant on the.
Okay,
yeah.
so because Turkey does not trust NATO, why does that mean that they would take it out on Sweden?
Yeah, the point is, the reason Turkey was initially hesitant to allow Sweden is because of the terrorists and the Kurdish forces.
You
They believe.
you haven't read a single card that says terrorists or Kurdish forces anywhere.
Well, the point I'm saying is it's not a question of whether or not that is true. That is like a fact.
Okay.
The reason Turkey,
That's
the
like
public
debatable.
announcement they made is the fear of counterterrorism forces was the reason they were initially opposed. They eventually came over, but it was a question of security
sure,
and NATO alliances.
The Herzog card says that Seoul is already setting off alarms because they're already developing nuclear capabilities, fissile material, etc. Why doesn't that dump the link?
It doesn't. The bottom of the card talks about how Washington has dissuaded Korea from proliferating from 1975, and this assurance is the best way to put stimmy and nuclear
that
program.
assurance. Okay, actually, if your DA is about the security guarantee, why would South Korea proliferate, knowing that proliferating would violate the NPT and basically cause the U.S. to
Well, the point
dismantle
is,
their
they
alliance?
know the U.S. is leaving. Our link
Okay, so
argument.
because they're kind of unsure, because we withdrew
Well, it's not
Turkey,
kind
they're
of
just gonna
unsure.
destroy the alliance.
South Korea would see the U.S. arbitrarily restricting Turkey,
Okay,
a
so
major
there's solution to that.
proliferator,
So there's
and there's
solution
because
to
they
that.
know they're eventually going to lose the assurance.
Okay,
South
so-
Korea would perceive,
so
even
there's
though
slightly-
the U.S. has some relationship with them, South Korea would perceive that relationship
Okay,
as
that's-
deteriorating. They would fear that
that's
they are
just-
going to be the next Turkey, which is why they would proliferate.
The advantage about F-35As is about nuclear sharing in Europe. It doesn't say the word Turkey once. We have B-61s in other countries. Why don't they also deter?
The very top of the card. Wait, sorry, you meant which evidence?
Quote: the United States employs tactical nuclear weapons in Europe to convince
The
them.
which evidence?
This Kun evidence. Like you read a deterrence
Sorry,
term
the
that
what?
isn't about Turkey. The Kun evidence. You read
Oh.
a deterrence term that isn't about Turkey.
It's about the F-35 and the B-61 that are
Which
unique to
exists
Turkey.
in every other country that we have nuclear sharing policies with.
We
Italy,
think
the
that there are
UK.
reasons why B-61 should be local to Turkey,
Wait, but you
in
haven't read a
Turkey
card
because they're
about
close
that.
to Russia.
Because they're close to Russia, like the UK is like that's just an assertion. Like these are really fast weapons. They can travel the world in time. Okay, I'll start that.
Perhaps.
Start prop. I have 222. I'll send it. The order is the Russia advantage, the nuclear security advantage, the topicality shell, the advantage counter plan about like F-35s, the Sweden DA / PIG, the SoKo DA.
You sent it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Russia prohibited sites B-61's nukes in Turkey due to its attempt to maintain U.S. ability to nuke Russia at any moment, which caused miscalculation. Automated systems are weak after Ukraine and Russian military doctrines make it likely they strike first. The first argument about F-35A's B-61s exists in other European and NATO states. Their own evidence is about Europe. We've inserted below Turkey does not solve because we don't have F-35s there, which is the other three cards that they read. Their evidence does not mention Turkey once. This is not an argument. It's called inevitable. The Shipler defense 8 point is just an assertion. Our scenario is not about flares. It's about flight patterns during crisis. When he sees signs that routine flights to reassure NATO allies or send in materials which might not even be F-35s could be perceived as an attempt to pick up the B-61s and drop them on Moscow. B and C points are our argument. The only reason training exercises are destabilizing is because we have B-61s in the region. Also answers miscalc inevitable because the only reason Russia perceives action as aggression is because we have nukes right next to them in Turkey, which is their own argument across the miscalc inevitable. All of this is about conventional miscalculation, like they perceive our soldiers. If we don't have nukes there, they won't perceive that as a nuclear threat. They want nuclear first strike us, which will cause a nuclear draw. The next argument about Stein will concede that F-35s do not exist. This is saying that they're not there in Turkey, but we can still fly them to Turkey and pick them up, which is the entire point of pick up and drop posture. The terror advantage, they functionally drop the terror advantage. This rally example, even if the rally example was not Hamas, they've dropped that Erdogan has ties with Hamas and he views Israel as a terror state independently. They dropped that he sells it on the black market, which is a dropped argument. He could sell it to ISIS, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, etc. And even the mere capability of the nukes are destabilizing. They dropped that Erdogan can stage a coup at any time and steal them. We'll concede all the revisions of defense not going for that advantage. The topicality shall counter trip substantially means of considerable amount. Archer in 2 words that are on the list of should be according to their ordinary meaning. The substantially suggests considerable to a large degree. They don't have a violation. Nukes are present, for their calculations are only about troops in Turkey, not other forms of presence. Nukes are obviously more substantial. Cross-sex was embarrassing. Precision is a floor, not a ceiling. If we have a sufficiently predictable interpretation of the topic, then division of ground is more important. Prefer one is over-limited. Anything else is arbitrary. Makes only 2 Fs. T that kills app innovation makes every debate stale. Second, picks means every pick out of countries, troops, weapons, etc. Competes. Moves the app voice 1 year restart. Third, functional limits. Every D is perception-based, which is still links to the app for reasonability. Good is good enough. Key to voice something kind of RBIs, key to times Q, L, and reciprocity. Else they can win and we can't, which causes 2 to 1 skew. The advantage counterplan does not solve miscalc or terrorists. It maintains B-61s in Turkey, which are the only scenarios we're going for, not going for revisionism. So this counterplan is irrelevant. Conditionality is bad. Multi-force us to argue multiple layers. Skills clash and in-depth education. Dispo solves your offense. Allows sufficient net flex. The Sweden DA. The pick does not compete. It's an example of the op because it still substantially reduces presence that was defined on the T page. They wrote the counterplan text wrong. They said reduce except for Incirlic, which means that they maintain presence in Incirlic, which means that every advantage is a deficit. Also does not solve since about the signal of withdrawal and maintaining presence is viewed as a conditional commitment. Picks are going to steal the op. Mood clash. The DA. They have 0 cards to say that the U.S.-Turkey alliance is strong now, which means you should start the DA at 0 risk. They drop 1. You see Edelman, which says that alliance collapse is never legit. Ask for 100 purchase. Turkish airstrikes and allies attacks in the U.S. NATO policies, etc. That means that A, they don't have link uniqueness, and B, if they're right, that Turkey is still supporting Sweden because it's in their own interest. They support a post-plan anyway. Hungary dumps Strasbourg. Told China there is no Sweden NATO. I still be up to Hungary to decide about Russia. There was no one to support Sweden. And melted by Hungary supporters no Russia on flying for the late decide only by probably one. See crazy as Apple. Only one committee approved in Turkey has been delayed for decades. No date is set. Inserted it below and accession costs is war. Urban 22 Sweden join NATO will alter the balance of power in the Arctic region, eliminate engagement with the Russian Arctic governments, bring the region closer to combat the Cold War. The SoKo DA. SoKo is much closer to the US. They collaborate just like Turkey as well. The weapons go to other allies as well. There's no reason the plan will be perceived as decommitment from allies. There's also no impact because they have dropped that only US-Russia war causes extinction for the Condaren evidence. Only they have the arsenal strength enough to cause extinction, and no other nuclear war can cause extinction. They don't have a scenario for draw, and no Prolif. Mizukami in 23 Washington declares the US deployed nuclear systems to the category and return SoKo will refrain from developing its own nukes. SoKo recommit to the MP affirming it will refrain from pursuing nukes. Deployment of US assets will be done by continuously. No alliance collapse or proliferation from nuclear pullout. We've literally withdrawn forces from South Korea, which should have thought Sherman 19 would pull out, and the alliance research suggested overstate the US withdrawn forces from any allied countries, but in South Korea, others none of these. Generally, the alliance the larger risk to try to carry its own by no means certain presidents will find this political tool dissuading Turkey if the US pulls out. Removal has no effect on allied perception because everyone knows that the limits are useless liability. Panda 19 when it comes to pulling out, the US has experienced to increase German with little difficulty. The idea and so would be the factor in the alliance seems inaccurate. This functional alliance won't be saved by presence. Weapons are liabilities under value reassurance. No SoKo, Prolif, Klinger, 20 SoKo, new country accounts for 30% military weapons for everyone and export of graduates and not stockpile of uranium. Take at least, nor in return of private processing facilities, take at least years to produce a few bombs program would violate the US cooperation. It means AEA government would face resistance from constituencies. Mark that resistance from constituencies.
Okay. 4 minutes. Start now. cards? Yeah, our cards. Order is going to be T, advantage counter plan, Sweden pick, like the pick and Sweden grouped on one page. The decide, and then case in the order of advantage 1 and then advantage 2.
Sit in your cards, man.
I don't think so. There might be, but double check. Yeah. Good. Is everyone good? I'm not going for two arguments are bad because they encourage baiting, which is the worst norm possible because it prevents us from contesting topicality. Their arguments are not complete. A time skew is obviously incoherent because apps make arguments and next have to respond to them, and the abuse story does not outweigh their views depending on the RVA. The counterplan. Not going for to permit us of competition. Conditionality is good. It's key for negative flexibility. When we need three multiple positions to contest the app, all of the warrants are one line and are not complete. There are no reason to drop the debate or drop the argument. Assures we can go back to substance prevents over punishing, which is better for the activity. The Sweden pick. Also not going for the Sweden pick. Picks are good for debate. Again, crossed by negative flexibility. They test the app in distinct ways, which are key for negative ground on the topic where we cannot find multiple positions. They also force us to learn more about the topic because we have to branch out their arguments about moving F ground are non-unique because every good decide or negative position would do so. The decide. SoKo Prolif. South Korea is on the brink of nuclear proliferation, but consistent and reliable U.S. assurances is the only reason they are not proliferating. The affirmative would tank assurances. Withdrawing the nukes from Turkey would send a signal to all allies, especially South Korea, that U.S. military presence is not a guarantee and willing to fluctuate at America's will, which makes it impossible for those allies to unconditionally trust the U.S. nuclear umbrella, which forces them to self-proliferate in case of the next Turkey. The link is magnified by the logic and terms used in the 1AC advantage 2. Even though they didn't go for it and they've conceded defense, the phrase is an evidence that their evidence cites about how Turkey needs the weapons, and the plan is key for restricting Turkey. All demonstrate the importance of nuclear weapons and are perceived as essential for deterrence. South Korean proliferation guarantees preemptive first strike and nuclear breaches and inadvertent escalation from accidental use or conventional warfare. That turns and outweighs case. First time frame A, the link is perceptual. The very perception of inconsistent U.S. assurances would motivate proliferation. This spills over to areas like the Middle East in the short term. B, preemptive strikes us on this afterwards. 23, Korean arsenal would introduce escalation of the DRP. Heightened temperatures for preemptive attack and infancy against the breaking ship and exacerbation of nuclear power. Second, it would turn case A posturing. There would be a much higher chance of miscalculation. Russia would be in the edge if every single country in the Middle East and Southeast Asia were proliferating and have a higher chance of accidentally clicking the button. B, terror. There would be an increased chance of rapid proliferation in the Middle East, which is conceded that would increase risk of user loser pressures because countries would hastily develop weapons and not pay attention to security. The line by line. First, the argument about SoKo being closer is not important. Turkey is the only NATO member in the Wanted region, carries literally nukes, and is a major American proxy for deterring Eastern Europe. The link is hyper increased by the fact on T. They said nuclear weapons are a massive influence, so South Korea would definitely view it as important. The only U.S.-Russian nuclear is not important. A spillover considered an impact scenario that it would spill over into the Middle East, involve literally every major power who has interest in Asia, including Russia. B, Russia would also have no choice but to intervene because the U.S. is trying to avoid a nuclear war and every single asset would be threatened. They say other measures solve assurances, but conventional weapons obviously don't solve nuclear proliferation. Our card is super specific to Turkish nuclear weapons because they're a signal of U.S. assurances. The Mirza calming card is wrong. Our evidence accounts for the Washington Declaration, but it's not binding. The card is 3 sentences highlighted and 0 warrants for they would not break it because again it is not binding and they have a reason to leave the WPT and not trust American assurances that they know it is declining. The Furman evidence. A, this card is about Turkey alliances, not about South Korea, which are distinct because the links that it says about South Korean perception. B, yes, the U.S. pulled nukes from SoKo in 1991 as part of a nuclear shutdown with Russia because they had too many nukes. Tensions now are at a precipice for far different than more they were than because the aggression in East Asia, advanced North Korean facilities, etc. all push us on the brink. They say removal has no effect. The Panda evidence is wrong. A, the link is perceptual. This was above. B, conceded on the Sweden side that they are a cornerstone of U.S. deterrence and NATO posturing. Turkey views it as a symbol, and South Korea perceives it in a similar manner, which proves the link is massive. The Killinger evidence. A, is perception based. They conceded it takes 2 years to develop a few bombs, which is enough to trigger use or lose it pressures. It is not a question of them having the weapons fully developed, but a question of what signal they send to other countries. And the concession of Sabala is damning for the negative. I'll send another card. Preemptive strike cells rollback and extinction. They do not need a full arsenal to cause a negative impact. Action 22. The period of greatest danger is before either has an operational capability. DRP Kushana could conduct preemptive strikes, highly tied in nuclear levels, breaking the moratorium on testing and development of nuclear assets in the ROK. Strategies would consider retaliatory operations trying to debark those lead to counter retaliatory targeting. That's a brinkmanship. Case. Then. Two arguments on the advantage. First, they have conceded that F-35s are better and they can fly in stealth mode. We are not going for the Kuhn evidence, but they have conceded that F-35s are far superior to other military weapons, which means that Russia will never be able to detect them in the first place. It takes out miscal because it doesn't matter if Russia will perceive them for doing other things, because they simply cannot see them in the first place. Second, there is no miscal is inevitable. Our card is about nuclear action. It is much more specific to NATO-Russia buildup, which guarantees a conventional escalation, but also cites Russia using nuclear weapons when they perceive a threat to the regional alliances. This was the only argument here. You should not value it because they have conceded warrants that miscalculation is constitutive of an engagement inside of the Middle East, inside of Europe. The fact that so many countries have nuclear weapons, conventional weapons, means the threats are inevitable. So it's not a question of how much is enough. The B61 argument doesn't apply. The card sets multiple all causes that obviously don't have to do with the B61. Advantage 2. Framing issue on terror is the probability of their scenario is practically zero. They have not won a cohesive impact story as to why the marginal increase in the marginal chance of him somehow staging a coup, risking his entire country, would be sufficient enough to cause nuclear terror, but we've also turned it. Their warrants are wrong. There is zero reason he would stage a coup. Their first evidence never comes to a conclusive enough assertion. All it says is that Israel is a terrorist state according to Erdogan, but that is not equal to giving Hamas nukes. The second argument relies on Erdogan entirely shutting up bases. Obviously, okay, look. This argument was not in the 1AC, but if you were to give the 1AR and 2AR full credence to the argument that was read instead of the 1AC, you still cannot have an affirmative because the evidence never reaches a conclusive enough stance on what would be enough to cause war. It just says, or not cause war, to cause the stealing of nuclear weapons. The card just says he can control lights and shut them down, which he only did in the coup, which is not the same thing as him doing it in the status quo, and at least, and a worst case, means there's a very low probability of that scenario actually happening.
222. I'll start.
Who's in the card?
Oh wait, can I pause and wait for the card?
Yeah, give me a sec. Send.
I'll pause. It's only the Jackson one, right? Not the others.
It's Jackson and
And lock. Okay.
work.
Case, yeah. Case
I'm
is
good.
terror advantage.
Turkey staged a coup, cuts up electricity, steals nukes, and sells them to terrorists. They drop that even if Turkey themselves didn't have connections with Monta, they will sell them on the black market. If the Twin Arches concludes with the 1EC was not sufficient, then you will 100% conclude after reading 1EC evidence. Here are direct quotes from the 1EC Rubin evidence. Quote, Erdogan incites anti-Americanism regularly, gangs assaulted sailors, the coup and event Erdogan insiders staged to justify the purge, cut off electricity to the base. The Twin are only talked about cutting off lights, which is not the same thing. Erdogan is nationalist and anti-American, which is why he has not stopped things like rallies, protests, etc. The second quote is, quote, the U.S. cannot afford to wait. A gradual withdrawal would endanger troops' declining numbers, hide their remainders inevitable. The Pentagon should fait accompli overnight evacuation. Our evidence is so specific, and if you read it, it does say that terrorism is likely independently. This is just not how debate works. Technical concessions are technical concessions. The 1EC had a nuclear terror scenario that said that it caused extinction. The 1EC ran one analytic that didn't apply to the rest of the scenario. And the Twin just made a bunch of new arguments, even if they were persuasive. You should just not evaluate them. They've dropped that nuclear terror causes extinction. That was dropped from the 1EC. It causes even the mere perception of nuclear weapons in terrorists' hands would cause first strikes on the terror groups, which causes their impact about Middle Eastern stability happens much faster, which turns all their time frame arguments. Even if the perception of the link is immediate, the time that it takes South Korea to develop the nukes takes much longer, and they haven't actually explained what that means, which means that the terrorist threat happens right now because the nukes already exist and can be taken by terrorists, so it happens much faster. The zero coup argument, even if the coup itself was not conclusive, the fact that the coup was staged by Erdogan proves that he is anti-American, and at any time he could do it, and miscalculated advantage can see that it's not real, whatever, not going for the 2ER. They've just straight up dropped that South Korea cannot proliferate. It does not have a uranium stockpile. Only has 30% of the necessary nuclear energy and electricity. Would face sanctions from China and the U.S. due to the Glenn Amendment, face fierce amendment and backlash within South Korea, and lead to even more U.S. withdrawals and military presence in the region. All that is 1ER Klinger, which the Twin just did not say the word Klinger once. You should not do the work for them and assume the rest. You should also not evaluate this Jackson evidence. It's a new impact scenario. The 1C impact was only in the context of South Korea proliferating, then that causing war. This new card is about conflict and strikes that happened before South Korea proliferates. That's obviously cheating, just by reading really bad impact cards in the 1C and then spamming new ones in the Twin the 1ER space. Of 1C off-base quality independently. If they set the link to be perception and an unconditional U.S. assurance, then every past withdrawal should thump. The only withdrawal that they answered was the withdrawal from South Korea. They've dropped that we've withdrawn nukes from Italy, the UK, Germany, Greece, etc. all the time, and in recent years, all of that should thump the DA, because if their argument is about alliances broadly, then all of that should thump, especially because some of those countries are also NATO countries, and they've just dropped both the Fuhrman and Panda evidence, which is not only about Turkey. It says that the U.S. does this all the time, and there's no reason why this is key. If they've set the threshold for the link so high, because they've said that the plan violates the unconditional signal of U.S. presence. There is no unconditional signal of U.S. assurances because we move troops around all the time, we move nukes around all the time too, and independently they've dropped the argument that the plan would solve because the U.S. moves those nukes, B-61s from Turkey to Europe, which means that it doesn't seem like we're moving alliances broadly. It just seems that we don't like Turkey specifically, which means that it doesn't trigger the South Korea proliferation idea. You should also set the burden for the link incredibly high. They need to win that not only South Korea would be unsure of the U.S. security guarantee, but that they would be willing to violate the NPT and basically destroy the alliance. Look, they've just dropped South Korea can't proliferate. The 2 terror was like atrocious. Just go after it.
Agreed.